What if someone commits a crime and then writes a book about it and makes $1 million? Hi everyone, welcome to the Humane Factor. I'm Namrita, a human rights lawyer and activist. Now, are you guys interested in documentaries, TV shows, movies, or books about real serial killers or other types of criminals? I know I am. There are several biographical TV shows, movies, and books out there based on real serial killers. For instance, there's Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, a movie based on American serial killer Ted Bundy. There's My Friend Dahmer, based on another serial killer, Jeffrey Dahmer. And most recently, there's The Serpent, trending on Netflix, based on Charles Sobrage, a French serial killer. Now, we find ourselves drawn to this type of content because we're often curious to know how a criminal mind works. Now, this opens us up to a bigger question. Are criminals getting paid for their crimes by selling their stories to publishers or for on-screen adaptation? Think about it for a moment. What if someone commits a crime and then writes a book about it and makes $1 million? What if they sell their story to Netflix or Amazon for a quick buck? Is it fair for a person to commit a crime and then profit from the publicity of it? Now, Charles Sobrage, a French serial killer who's currently serving a life sentence in Nepal, is known to charge large sums of money for media interviews. He has even attempted selling rights for a movie based on his life and tried to get his memoir published, which thankfully didn't work out. Now, he isn't the only one. Robert Pickton, Canada's most prolific serial killer, who is serving a life sentence, proclaimed his innocence in his memoir, Pickton in His Own Words, which he wrote in a maximum security cell. Now, he slipped each page of his manuscript to an inmate who sent it to a friend in California called Michael Childress, and the book was ultimately published in Michael's name, which is what you see on the cover. But of course, the money from the sale of this book went to Pickton. Now, the Canadians were outraged. It takes a lot to make Canadians angry, so when they do get angry, you know that someone has screwed up. Now, in some states in the US, there are laws that prevent serial killers and other criminals from profiting from the publicity of their crimes. These laws are called the Son of Sam laws. Well, that's some good news because being a criminal shouldn't be an attractive career choice for anyone. So, what's the story behind the Son of Sam laws? In 1977, after hearing reports that David Berkowitz, an American serial killer, was being offered a large sum of money for the rights to his personal story, the New York State Assembly passed a law requiring that a convicted criminal's income from creative works describing their crimes must be deposited in an escrow account. The funds from the escrow account are then to be used to reimburse crime victims and their families for the harm they have suffered. Now, these laws work differently in different states. For instance, in Alabama, a new law called the Lisa's Law was passed in 2019 to strengthen the state's Son of Sam laws. Take a look at this clip.
37 years ago, Lisa was brutally abused and murdered in DeKalb County, and the family said they continue to relive it.
Over and over and over and over. It's re-victimizing. We don't like it.
Several documentaries and real crime TV shows featured Lisa, and Governor Kay Ivey signed into law a bill called Lisa's Law that the Milliken family says will help families not be re-victimized. The law says someone convicted of a crime who wants to share their story about that crime for a profit needs to make sure the victims are notified ahead of time.
And then to see that person to be able to profit off of the crime they committed is really a slap in the face, if you will, of those victims and the victim's family.
It also stops people who are convicted of certain crimes from making more than $5,000 when sharing stories about the crimes.
It tips the scales just a little bit. It gives families a little bit more protection, a little bit more say-so.
The Milliken family says they hope this stops other families from reliving any future tragedies. Now, if the person convicted of a crime makes more than $5,000 if they're deciding to use their story in movies, books, or whatever else they could use it for, that leftover money, more than $5,000, that would go to the victim or the victim's family.
Now, the son of Sam laws were also sort of applied in the case of O.J. Simpson, who was acquitted of killing his ex-wife Nicole Brown and her friend Ron Goldman. He was later found liable for the wrongful deaths of Nicole and Goldman in a civil suit in 1997. Now, O.J. wrote a book called If I Did It. This book, which is regarded as a confession, describes how O.J. could have killed his ex-wife and her friend. Now, this book was initially slated to be published by Regan House, a division of HarperCollins. But after mass outrage from people over O.J. profiting from the deaths, HarperCollins cancelled the book deal. In 2007, the Goldman family was awarded rights to the book by a Florida bankruptcy court and went through with the publication. The proceeds from the book go to the Goldman family. But this isn't just about serial killers. Now take the case of Anna Sorokin, who is also known as Anna Delvey. Now she was a magazine intern from a middle-income family who pretended to be a German heiress and scammed her way into elite Manhattan circles. For years, she conned hotels, banks, and friends into believing she was wealthy. She started racking up bills from months-long stays at luxury hotels and investments in a startup that didn't exist. While on the surface, she showed off designer clothes and a jet-set life on Instagram, behind the scenes, she was bouncing checks and forging documents to secure loans. Now, she went by the name of Anna Delvey, but in reality, she was Anna Sorokin from an average Russian family who lived in Germany. Now, she was soon exposed, convicted, and spent some time in jail before being released on parole earlier this year. Now, she wasn't too remorseful about her actions. Take a look at this clip.
I mean, were you satisfied when you got away with something, when you achieved something, when you slipped under the radar and didn't have to pay? Was it thrilling?
Absolutely not, because in my head I never thought that I was cheating or getting away with anything. In my head, like, any money that would borrow from them, they would be getting back. I felt like they portrayed me as like someone who is very manipulative, which I don't think I am. And I was like never really like too nice of a person. I was never like really trying to talk my way into anything. I kind of just told people what I want, and like they either gave it to me or not, and I just moved on.
Why do you think so many people believed you then? What was it in your personality that could convince people?
I don't know. I think like maybe believed I was smart and I was working on something that could have like a great potential and I would be successful. I don't know. I don't feel like it has much to do with my personality. I guess I really believed in myself and what I was doing. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I guess like people just see like I'm talented and I'm focused and I work hard, and I could make them a lot of money.
Now, her story attracted national attention, and eventually, producer and screenwriter Shonda Rhimes obtained the rights to adapt her story into a saga for Netflix. The upcoming miniseries, Inventing Anna stars Julia Garner as Anna. Now, Anna was offered a $320,000 by Netflix for her story and says that she's also been offered many other deals. In 2019, the New York State Attorney General's office invoked the Son of Sam law so that she wouldn't be able to use that money from Netflix. But earlier this year, an Albany County judge ordered the state's Office of Victim Services to unfreeze her bank account and allow her to use the funds. Now, she's been using that money to pay off her victims. But this isn't only about money. It's also about the celebrity status she's attained just by conning and cheating people. Now, I've spoken about convicted criminals profiting from publicizing their crimes. But what about people who aren't criminals per se, but who are just plain dishonest? What if someone tells a bunch of lies, doesn't get into trouble for it, and then writes a book about it and makes money? Well, the Son of Sam laws do not apply in such cases. It applies only to convicted criminals. The most infuriating example of this is Vijay Chokalingam, Mindy Kaling's brother. Now, Vijay, who is an Indian American, lied and pretended to be black so that he could make use of affirmative action and get admission in medical school in the US. He then published a book about it called Almost Black, where he talks about what it is like to pretend to be black. Now, Vijay is about as black as I am. But no one ever found out that he wasn't black till he announced it himself. Now, here's an excerpt from the blurb of his book, which you can find on Amazon. Once upon a time, I was an ethically challenged, hard-partying Indian American frat boy enjoying my third year of college. That is until I realized I didn't have the grades or test scores to get into medical school legitimately. Still, I was determined to be a doctor and discovered that affirmative action provided a loophole that might help. The only problem? I wasn't a minority. So I became one. I shaved my head, trimmed my long Indian eyelashes, and applied as an African American. I used my middle name Jojo. Vijay, the Indian American frat boy, became Jojo, the African American affirmative action applicant. Now, this isn't someone who's struggling to make ends meet and lies for the sake of survival. This is the case of a rich, lazy frat boy, as he calls himself, who lied because he didn't have good grades, and his lies cost a deserving black person a seat in medical school. Now, cheating and defrauding an institution and then writing a book about it and making money off it is disgusting and morally and ethically wrong. Shockingly, it's entirely legal to do this. So today, not only is it possible for criminals to become celebrities and sell their stories for money, as we saw with Anna Delvey, but it's also possible to lie and cheat. And if you don't get caught, you can write a book about it and make more money. Now, we need better systems in place to stop not just criminals, but people in general who engage in dishonest acts from making money out of their terrible actions. Aren't we glorifying their actions by letting them make money out of it? We don't want to create a culture where committing crimes or being a dishonest person can turn out to be a one-way ticket to fame and money. We need not just proper legislations and enforcement, but also sensitivity on the part of various institutions that give these individuals such opportunities. And by opportunities, I mean money and fame. So I hope you like this video. Please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for videos every Wednesday and Saturday. I'll be back soon.